I definitely see myself in the streets, because even now when we go out on the streets and passing out condoms and everything like that, like I see that how much of a difference that makes just with the 2-second conversation or with the 5-minute conversation. So in the streets, or even in schools or churches or anything broader than the how can I say this? Not only in the DC area, but also in like Virginia and Maryland, like different places where they're getting affected also, because you know it's not only in DC. So just all over the place in the streets. I would say so. Africa? Yes, I'll go to Africa. I go anywhere. Just take me, just to, you know, help somebody and maybe help somebody from not getting, like one person from not getting HIV or the simplest STD, like even just everywhere.
Are there questions from the audience that you want to pose to this brilliant panel?
We've talked about a lot of things that are different since the time of the film, such as the different treatment options and the ways that AIDS is less visible on bodies. But what about the things that aren't different in terms of funding? Like, I mean, yeah, you have something to say, right? like where does federal funding go, and how does that affect the work you do? Does that keep the work that you do from being more political? Like, because it's more direct services oriented, because there is a federal funding for like health services. So.
What's your question? I'm sorry.
What hasn't changed since that? Since the state of affairs in the film we just watched.
What hasn't changed?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're still fighting, so a lot hasn't changed. And so, like you said, with the funding and all of that, so like even Metro Teenage, we've lost some funding, so that's cut one of our programs, and so. You know, but because of the workers and how dedicated they are, the program is still able to run, but that funding just still isn't there. So, I mean, like funding and, I mean, there are plenty of other things. I was just born that year that all that stuff was going on, so I'm not sure what is all that hasn't changed because I'm 24, so, but I know that we're still fighting and there is still a fight to put up, so. That may be a question for...
Well, I think another thing that hasn't changed is the stereotype of who the disease actually targets. It's not a gay thing, it's not a white thing, a black thing, it's not a young people thing or old people thing. It's just a thing. And it's serious. Also, what would motivate someone to be a part of such a move like that, especially living in the DC area, like why would I want to walk around with the title of having the most people with it? You know what I mean? So I think even like you said with the funding, having to kind of prove that we need it, as opposed to just saying, hey, this is what it's for. Making it relevant, I guess you can say. That's something that hasn't changed. If you roll back the clip, I'd play some more, but other than that.
I think part of the question about funding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is does the funding an organization receive prevent you sometimes from advocating directly, becoming involved with activism as much as you would like to because you might be threatened?
Oh, to lose your funding because you're...
Is that part of it? Yeah.
Kind of looking like the trouble starters.
Yeah, I haven't, like me personally, I haven't seen or heard anything about, like you said, the threats, hey, don't come out and protest or we're going to cut, you know, freestyle. Like, I haven't heard that. And I hope that that is not happening, but I know that a lot of organizations has been like shut down completely because of lack of funding or loss of funding. And it's unfortunate because for something that's been around for so long and it's still a problem, healthcare, or, you know, when you're like deciding what money goes where, you shouldn't be taking money out of the healthcare, you know, pile or whatever you want to call it. I don't understand, like, how they get to decide and why, or like even in the film when it was like, they got to be a part of committees when it came time to decide how treatment or clinical trials had to go. Like, who is there deciding what money goes where when half the people in Congress or wherever, they don't have HIV. They may or may not know people that have HIV or family members. Like, their kids are still abstinent. They have sex after they get married. They're Catholic. I'm just saying, like, this is the ideal. Like, I was going to say she was 18 and she had. I'm just saying. These children get it in. But like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, most of these people don't really know what it's like. So even for them to have to say so in how HIV or AIDS patients get treated is like, how can you speak on that experience when you don't have a first-hand nothing to base, like, you don't have anything to base your decision off of.
I think another problem is when someone says, or reaches out that they need help for HIV and AIDS, they're always looked at as irresponsible, or they're given this bad rap, or they're doing something that they have no business, so why should we help you if you didn't listen to us?
You deserved it.
Right. I think that, keeping in mind, sex is the only way you can get it. There's drugs, there's I don't know if it's that serious, but I mean, if I have a scar and you have a scar and I haven't seen you in a long time, I give you a hug, our blood meets, we have it. You know what I mean? It's that serious, so.
I just want to comment on a couple things that you've said. There is an organization here still called DC Fights Back, and we are actively, just like ACT UP, going to the Wilson building and doing protests. But the key thing about it is we're also going to the legislators and telling them our story. And that's kind of follow up to what you were just saying. Who's there telling them? If we're not there as activists telling them, then nothing gets done.
Yeah, so how are you, whether it's peer education or outreach or whatever you do, how do you use technology, whether it's you use some kind of mobile apps or anything? I'm just curious on too. With ACT UP, they're using cameras, but back then, not many people were using as freely as they do now, because that's what they saw, that's how they wanted to use the latest at that time to get their message out. So, what kind of innovative things are you doing, or what kind of innovative things do you think need to happen in order for people to?
Well, currently we have different things. Like, we do have a Twitter page for some of our different teams. Like, I know for my team, for Street Team, we have a Twitter page where we we'll tweet out information about our freestyle youth center, where actually our youth come in, just to chill or to watch TV. We tweet out our information about events that we'll have and certain things like that. And then we'll also try to meet the youth in different ways. Like, we know youth like to eat. Like, I like to eat. If it's free food at an event, I'm going to go. So we'll use certain things like that, or incentives, raffles, or anything like that to bring out kids to our event. So not only are they benefiting, getting something from the event, they're also getting information, getting condoms, getting meeting people, and just getting a boatload of information, and along with going and having fun. So we try to do incentives. Of course, we use technology. We're not up to, oh yeah, and we do have the text message, the Real Talk campaign, where you can text Real Talk to 61827. And they'll give you a bunch of different like clinics and stuff where you can go and get tested. So we do try to meet youth and everybody where we can.
And we go out to other people's events too, though. We get invited everywhere, and then we kind of show up to stuff that we fit into the categories of being invited to. And we do our outreach. We have outreach and track logs where we get zip codes and we get, have you been tested, or we'll say where we're at. Basically, we do zip codes to show where we went. We also go to clubs at night. We pass out condoms. We pass out different safe sex utensils. Like, we're promoting the SB2, the female condom. A lot of people are intimidated by that. I think we're doing a good job at promoting that.
I question about like different technologies. I know at NTA we have like different people that come down and do different trainings and things with us. But one of, as far as advocacy, one of the things that we just did like a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two ago, where they showed us a version of the ACT UP documentary. It wasn't this one, but it was one that pretty much had the same footage. We used photography as a way of advocating for our issue was HIV. So we took pictures, like everyday life or whatever we wanted, and basically interpreted pictures of how we felt and how does it, relates to HIV. And we marched with those pictures down to Wilson Building. So, and I know now they're working on a schools to prison pipeline, where high school kids and people like me who's in college are like using the photography to show how different policies and like rules at schools are literally causing kids to drop out, and depending on what kind of lifestyle they live in, or even the kind of neighborhoods they grow up in or where they live in or activities they're doing, they're getting incarcerated. So I think photography is another way that we've kind of like what we've incorporated to do advocacy and things that we do.
It's funny that you said photography, because I remember this year at Youth Pride, we had we all get to the table, and another piece of technology that we used was taking pictures, holding up signs, saying some type of positive message like I know my status or I got tested, you should too. And then we take that and we put it on Facebook. I haven't met anybody who doesn't know what Facebook is. That's like one of the biggest pieces of technology we have. Even businesses use Facebook, you know what I mean? So that's another critical piece of how we promote different things that we do. Maybe if it's just a game that we're having or a raffle, like a survey. So we definitely stay involved on social networks, because we even had Tumblr at one point. It's like a blog page. We'll stick with it. Thank you. But we definitely stay involved online and offline. So I think that's one of the unique things about MTA, how it's more of an interpersonal relationship and then an external relationship as far as online and then in real life. So, does that answer your question?
It does.
So please give our esteemed panel